Hello, everyone. We want to welcome you to our webinar today here at Inovia Consulting. We're excited to have Steve Waltz. He's from our team here at Inovia. He's going to be presenting today on what comes first, the sales process or the CRM. But before I pass it over to Steve to get started, I'd like to remind you that this session is being recorded. It will be posted to our on-demand webinar library for you to review, and you can share with anyone else after the event as well. If you have any questions along the way, we are going to have a question section. So feel free to type those into the questions box on your screen. We will make sure that Steve gets those questions at that part of our presentation. So I think that covers everything, and I'm going to pass it over to Steve to get started.
Thank you, Keith. Welcome, everybody. Appreciate you taking time out of your busy day. Today's session is called What Comes First, the Sales Process, or CRM. And as Keith said, my name is Steve Waltz, and I'm with the customer engagement team here at Inovia Consulting. And a little bit about myself and my background and why I'm doing this webinar today. So I've been in the great field of sales for over 30 years. Been in the automobile industry, pharmaceutical, and the ERP world here at Inovia for almost 6 years now. And one of the things I'm most proud of, I got to carry the bag for many years, being a salesperson, and worked in many different roles. I worked in account management, senior management, worked with marketing panels, new product launches, cross-functional teams, and I've also worked with 4 different CRM platforms. And a lot of the discussions I have with folks are about, let's take a look at the CRM that we have, but also let's talk about the sales process. And it's one of the few pieces of software that's bought prior before doing a lot of discovery work, and the failure rate for CRM is pretty high. So let's kind of get into what we're going to talk about here. So what are our objectives for the call? So it really comes down, it's all about your sales process. A lot of salespeople, especially early on in their career, they really just kind of wing it and just try to have a good story. And then you really learn through trial and error that there's actually processes you can put in place to improve your selling success. So we're going to spend some time talking about developing the sales process. So how do you develop a sales process? Sometimes it depends on what you sell. If you're selling large complex deals, it's going to be a little bit harder to develop one versus selling more of a shorter type of process. Maybe it's just a couple of contacts. But we really need to dig deep and understand how to do that, and we'll talk about that. And really to have a culture of selling. And a lot of organizations out there, especially when they implement a CRM system, they kind of lose track of why they're implementing it. It's not uncommon for an owner or for members of the C-suite to see that beautiful funnel and say, "Oh, I want that." But what happens is when you see that funnel and you want it for reporting and for forecasting, you kind of lose the mindset of what it truly is for. It's truly to help the salespeople bring in deals and advance deals and close deals. And it's one of the things too that if you never had it before, and now things are being put into your CRM, there's more visibility of the activity of the salespeople. So it can be very difficult sometimes for organizations. They need to have processes in place, but at the end of the day, it's about selling product, improving a customer experience, and having that culture mindset. What do we got to do together as a team to sell is going to help you profoundly. And lastly, how to utilize the CRM to fill up your pipeline and close deals. And kind of what it was alluding to is that, when you have that mindset of really how you can use it as a tool to assist you into to that culture of selling, of how to bring deals in and move them, all that other stuff becomes secondary, the reporting, right, the forecasting. So, the goal is to really have that mindset of how we can help salespeople do their jobs better. All right, so let's answer that question, right? So what comes first? Sales process, sales process, sales process. So there's the answer to the question. I appreciate you taking time for the webinar. I'm just kidding. Why I put it on there 3 times is that you can have multiple sales processes. It depends on really what you sell. And when you set up sales cycles in CRM, that's going to actually be important because you might have multiple sales cycles, and we're going to talk about that. So why does it come first? It's kind of like building your house, right? Would you build a house and then after you're kind of halfway through construction say, "Oh, you know what, this isn't going the way we planned. Maybe we should actually make some blueprints for it"? Absolutely not. You're going to invest in the discovery and build a blueprint. right? And kind of say, okay, this is what we see. This is, why we're doing it. And then, when you build that blueprint and see how your sales processes, are working, then you can turn around and build them, because we want to have the mindset of building these processes to advance the deal. And I've used this slide coming up a few times in other presentations, but it's so important. This is the mindset of a selling organization, of a player, of a top salesperson, right? When we are building our sales process in CRM, we need to have this mindset of how are we going to create deals? Okay, are we doing outbound calls? Okay, do we have a plan in place? Do we have sales plans? Okay, how are we going to advance the deal? Each step, as we build out our sales cycle, we need to know the next step to advance it, to get it to what? To the close, right? To the ask. Are we going to win it or lose it? So you can kind of see here, depending on when you have your pipeline meetings, and I stole this slide from Mike Weinberg from Sales Truth, but it says every week and month we need to ask ourselves on these pipeline meetings, what new opportunities did we do from our activity, did we create from a proactive sales effort? Okay. And so as we're building out our processes, we want to kind of keep that in mind to create, advance, and close these deals. So let's talk about setting the tone as a salesperson. And I truly believe that the CEO as a salesperson is a CEO of their territory. Okay. And being the CEO of your territory is, it comes with ownership. And how do you set the tone? I mean, it's Monday, right? Hit the ground running. And I'll actually, when I coach and talk with salespeople, the mindset is, okay, Sunday night you should be thinking about what you're going to be doing Monday morning. Is Monday the time to take a look at your opportunities in the morning, or is it Sunday night? All right, what are we doing? How's my calendar look for the week? Okay, what open opportunities do I have? What stages are they in the pipeline? Because it's really up to the salesperson to do that, because sales is leadership and leadership is sales. Okay, you don't need to be the CEO or the C-suite to be a leader. A leader means you have followers. And in sales, we need to help lead people, because a lot of times when we're building out these processes, as a salesperson or a sales manager, a member of the team, when we are talking with clients or potential clients, they might not know what to do next. All right, we do this all the time. This might be new for them. So it's really up to us to help lead them, to help them understand their issues and so forth. So when we're looking at our process, we need to keep that in mind. And lastly, to be a person of excellence. The top 10%, the top salespeople. I think salespeople get a bad rap, because most salespeople I know are high integrity, just great people, but a few bad salespeople have kind of dampened that a little bit. So to be a top salesperson, you need to be a person of excellence. One of the things that I like to have when I do my discussions with other companies and leadership teams is talk about, as we set up these cycles in our processes, why do deals stall in the pipeline? And the research has shown that 80% of deals stall because there's no planned next step. Right? You set up a meeting, at the end of the meeting, you don't know where you want to take it. Well, if we're going to have successful sales process and sales cycles, we need to know what we want to talk to them about and where we want to take them. Okay, and that's something we need to build into our processes, because hope is not a strategy. And I would say probably, it's probably the 80-20 rule in reverse. How many people have a sales process? It's not a lot, and they try to, but it's really how do you determine what that's going to be? Okay, and by having a good sales process, it's going to help you do a better job of discovery, because if you skip steps, a poor job of discovery leads to issues later in the process. So if you're doing a good job of discovery with folks, the ask becomes secondary. And one of the things that happens is why a lot of deals stall in the pipeline is just the most feared word to a salesperson, and that is the word no. 2 letters, right? And if I'm not reaching out to them, then maybe there's hope. Maybe they're still thinking about doing a business with me, versus tracking with somebody. We want to be able to have our next step in and know if they're tracking. Okay, I want to know if it's no or if it's yes. And you talk about micro commitments to get there, because if you want somebody to track and move the next step, and you ask for that next commitment, if they say no, well, then maybe we need to go back to discovery or understand why. Okay, but if they say yes, they're telling you they're involved into the process with you. So let's talk about your process. So when you're building out your process, there's a couple of questions. One is, the question I ask is, where does it start and where does it end now? And the follow-up question is, where do you want it to start and where would you like it to end? Okay, because is there data to support each stage? Okay, what are your A players doing? If your A players are like, okay, this is when I engage, when I talk with them, and this is where I want to take them, okay? Because what's unique in a lot of these when I talk with companies is in the first stage, just the meeting type to getting to know somebody, is if you're doing outbound calling, okay, the mindset is, are you trying to get somebody on a call and just do a dump on them and just start telling them how wonderful your company is? Or is that stage to where you want to set up an appointment, okay, because you're interrupting that person's day, okay? Or if you have a current client, that stage is going to be a little bit different. Okay, your A player is like, okay, hey, I want to review some things we talked about a while back. I got some ideas for you. So, we need to really take a look at how we're doing with our different type of sales scenarios. So what I'm going to do here is kind of go over a typical set up a process of a sales cycle. Okay, so what I have here is stage one, right? It's the greeting. It's so quick and yet so important. And a lot of people blow through it, okay? And we need to find what the purpose of the greeting is. This is kind of what I talked about. So if the purpose of the greeting is to get an appointment to have a further discovery type meeting, great. If you think you only have one shot of talking to this person and you're trying to, do a presentation or something there, well, it normally doesn't go well early into the process, but we need to kind of really understand where we want to take them, okay? And it's so important to set the ground rules of the engagement, because within the first 5 seconds, you're kind of setting the tone of how you want to do business or how you want to engage with somebody. So let's say we set up an appointment and we want to kind of do with the next stage. What I have here is what is stage two. Well, you can name it whatever you want. I have it right here as the discovery phase. Okay, you met with somebody, or maybe you met somebody at a trade show and say, hey, you know what, we should talk. Or you've been talking with somebody a while back and say, okay, I'd like to get more of a conversation. And this can last, it can vary. It really depends if you're talking about large, complex enterprise type deals or shorter type cycle deals. But it's a long lost art, because if the beauty of discovery, okay, and asking not only good questions but trying to ask the right questions is not just asking questions for the sake of it. It's really, okay, what are you looking to do? What are you trying to accomplish? What are you doing now? What are your pain points? And really digging in deep about where they're at and where they want to go. And it might take a second discovery meeting, because if the discovery is done correctly, the close becomes secondary. And I did sales training years ago. If you skip steps of a cycle, okay, and then it came down to negotiating, you really didn't have that, because you're like, oh, remember we talked about, this is where you felt you were losing a lot of value, and what we talked about is going to actually, the ROI is 3 times that. If you don't have those discussions, it's hard to overcome those and provide value to the customer. So let's say we have our discovery call. Then we kind of get into, I like to call this, maybe the next stage. And what I'm kind of talking here, this is more of a large, complex type of deal. And we'll kind of take a look at some other ones. But for now, like, we're at the next step. So we had our conversation to see, to understand what their needs are. And based on the discovery, we want to find out if our product or service is truly a fit for the client. Okay. And really, throughout this whole process, it is up to the salesperson to set the tone of engagement. It is completely your responsibility. Because as I said before, the person that you're talking with, either your current client or potential client, they might not know what the steps should be. They're looking to you as an expert, okay? So we want to really, have this locked down, because let's say based on our conversation that we had, it sounds like that we can help you. Here's some ideas. Okay, I think if we kind of work together on these, and then as you're going through that, maybe you need some other additional information. So what is it going to be? What's needed to move this forward? Okay, if you at that point you feel everything's good and you don't need any additional steps, then great. But a lot of times you might say, okay, you know what? That's great that you said that, but I want to see it. I want a more formal presentation. I want a demo. I want to get more people on my leadership team. Maybe we get some people on our leadership team and have that deeper dive conversation. But we're moving this down the pipeline. So we kind of get to the next stage, which could be what I have here, a couple things: the demo, presentation, or the proposal. Because if they didn't require the demo or presentation, then you'd probably be stepping into a proposal. But if in that fit conversation, you realize that, you know what, we need to have more of a deep dive discussion and present to them and have a demo, well, then, we need to do that. And so, and we only do that based on our discovery and fit conversations, right? Are they now sold on the product or service? Because if we do the demo or do the presentation and we track together and we're asking good questions and everybody agrees that this is a good step, and then that's the time what I firmly believe is when you really get into the budget discussions. Okay. And I'm a big proponent of once sold, then discuss the budget, the price and terms. Because, early on the process, it always comes up. What's this going to cost me? What's this going to cost me? And I understand if the budget's $50,000 and your solution's $500,000, well, there's not going to be a fit. But what happens is if we get so fixed on a number, maybe through that process of engagement, right? Of having the discovery conversations, fit conversations, you uncover needs like, oh, I didn't know it could do that. That could save me a lot more money. Well, then they don't mind investing more money. But a lot of times at that point, if once they're sold, that's when you really got to get into the budget, price, and terms. So then we get to the final stage here. I like to call it either the proposal or the ask stage. So some people say, Steve, I believe in the close, and it can be the ask, and it's whatever you feel comfortable with. Okay, but I can tell you this: at the end of the day, nothing happens until you ask for something. Okay, you don't ask, you don't get. Okay, so if the client is sold on the product or service, if you've both felt there's a good fit, and your product or service can truly help them achieve their goals, okay, you provided no value unless they said yes. Okay, it's time for the ask. And one of the things I get asked a lot is that, okay, if you make a proposal, what do? You can email a proposal over, and then maybe they get back with you. Or what I like, depending on what type of proposal it is setting up an appointment to kind of discuss that, and you set that next step up, right? Now let's talk about that next Thursday or Friday. And then you set the appointment and you kind of review the proposal together, because a lot of times there might be some maybe misunderstanding. They thought one thing, you thought the other. And then when you revise that, and then really it's now up to them. We're going to win the deal or lose the deal. So that right there can be a typical a sales process or a sales cycle. So what I want to show you here, this is a dashboard of Business Central. And what I'm going to do here is kind of go through some of the software with you. Okay, as you can see here, I have my my Business Central open, and this is a relationship manager's dashboard. And the neat thing about this, you can kind of see here, is that I have a lot of list of things that I think is important. I can see how many contacts I have, how many opportunities. I got 51 open, and this is red, and this is not good. I got a bunch overdue. But as a sales manager, maybe I have to have a conversation with my team. But I can kind of see here too, when I get down, I want to see my funnel. And here's the top end of the funnel, right? These are the ones kind of going in, getting down to one are closed. I can see my opportunities here in a nice chart. And I can even, you can see here, I have my top 5 opportunities. My Power BI is updating, as you can see. You can have Power BI reports even brought here. But one thing I want to talk to you about is opportunities. That funnel is based on your opportunities. So if you take a look at this, you can kind of see this is the date that it was created, the description of the opportunity, this is the salesperson code, and this is the status, okay? And this is the current sales cycle that it's under, and that's kind of what we're talking about. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to search, and I'm going to search sales cycles. So when it pulls it up, it's going to list the current ones I have. You can see here we have quite a few of them. So if I click on this one right here, I create a new opportunities cycle. So what I'm going to do is click on the stages. And it's going to show you the stages I have set up currently for this one. Okay, and this one has 6 steps. And you can put the description in here and we'll kind of walk through one. I'll do a couple steps. But you can kind of see here, this is all editable. Okay, so initial discussion is 5% complete of the cycle. And this can be changed. It's really what you want to make it. And so I have it here that this is chance of success. Okay, just because one thing that really comes up quite a bit is that just because you completed the cycle doesn't really mean what the percentage of the win's going to be. It could depend on your cycle, and each one can be different. Because at the end of the day, it is a zero-sum game. They're either going to buy from you or they're not, right? So you can kind of see here as we went from the initial discussion to the discovery call, we made it 30. And the chances of success have kind of gone up. But you can kind of see right here how it kind of plateaued, like it's 60%. And so based on our data, once we give a proposal, we usually close 60% of the deals, okay? So if I go back here, and I can click on new, now I can create my a new sales cycle. So I'm going to put on here, we'll just do a demo. And what's the description of it? We'll just put demo again. Okay, probability. So this is what you can do. You can have percentage of complete or probability. So what I'm going to do is put chances of success, and I'm going to hit my stages. And then right here, it pulls up your stages. So I can put stage 1 right here. Put the description on whatever you want to put. We can maybe put initial call. And so what percentage in our cycle is that? So let's say for this one, we'll make it 10%. All right, how many deals do we close at hello? All right, we can leave that at 0, but sometimes people have to put in, so we're going to put in 5. So this is kind of neat, an activity code. This is something you can create also. You can kind of see here, we have all the way to sign, qualify, whatever. And I'm going to have initial, which is the initial task. And then if you see here, you can require steps. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back here to it and go back to this one that we had hit on the stages. And you can see here that there's a quote required one or allowed to skip a step, and you can edit these too. But you can see right here, we can, maybe you don't need a follow-up presentation or the demo, you can skip that. But if you're going to send a proposal, a quote is required. So basically, I think as you can see, this is how we would just build the sales cycle. I'll get my PowerPoint back on there. Maybe. There we go. So what I want to do is open it up for any questions. So if you do have questions, here's my contact information. Also, if you're a current Innovia client, you can always reach out to your account manager, and they'd be more than happy to reach out to me to answer any questions. And Keith, I'll turn the rest over to you.
All right. So one of our attendees says, no question, but I immediately thought of 4 key members who should see this. So you will be getting a recording, just to let you know that. And we'll be sending that to you as soon as we've done all our editing processing. We'll be sending a note over to all the attendees with that link. So you'll be all set there. But I think that is it. So thank you very much, Steve, for presenting today. And whether you're joining us live or on demand, we thank you for joining us as well. We do have a few more webinars coming up actually very soon that you won't want to miss. Tomorrow, February 24th, our partner Continia will be joining us to present Accelerate Your Finance Processes with Accounts Payable Automation. That's at 10 a.m. Central tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern. So you can find the registration link at innovia.com/events. Then later that day at 1 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Eastern, Gino Pack, also from our Innovia consulting team, will be sharing his presentation, Migrating BC Nav on-premises to an Azure environment, Best Practices. So this is perfect for anyone who's thinking about a move to the cloud, but they aren't quite sure where to start that process. So he'll kind of go through all of that and give you some best practices and advice. And of course, at any time, you can check out our website for more of our upcoming events. We do have a lot that come through. So there's all sorts of different topics that might interest you. So check those out at innovia.com/events. We do want to mention too that DynamicsCon is coming up very soon. It's a free registration for this virtual event. It's going to take place March 16th through 18th. It'll be full of high quality community selected training for Business Central and the Power Platform. Mary Malone from Innovia Consulting will be presenting Enhancing ERP Success, a strategic approach to training and engagement on March 16th at 3 p.m. Eastern. So you'll want to be sure to check that out. But be sure to register today at dynamicscon.com. Join this fantastic session and stop by Innovia's virtual booth to say hello. We do have a scavenger hunt planned as well, so you'll want to check that out. We also want to mention that the Innovia Conversation podcast has been going on. Steve is actually one of our hosts. He and Jeff bring all the latest information about the BC Nav world and tips and tricks from experts. They do about 2 episodes a month, and we list all the different podcast platforms that you can find them on the podcast page at innovia.com/podcast. Be sure to subscribe today, as we have an episode coming out this afternoon that you won't want to miss. So thanks again to everyone for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you on our next Innovia webinar. Have a great day.